live streaming yet. Let us have a look. Good evening. Just gotta make sure we go live online as well. Here we go. Okay, made it on one. Let's just make sure we're live on here. If anybody's there, please let me know you can see me. Tell me you can see me. Anybody who's there, let me know you can see me. It's Top Tip Tuesday. It's that time of the week again. Just making sure I'm live on Facebook as well, and then I'll get started. Get yourself a cup of tea or coffee or something. Hopefully I'm going to share some gems over the next half hour. Okay, yes, I'm live on Facebook as well. And yes, good evening. Hello, everybody. My name is Genesis, aka the Nutri Guy, and it's Top Tip Tuesday. And today's top tip is going to be around how you can get more fiber in your diet. Okay? It's an underrated subject. It's a bit of a shitty subject to talk about as it's related to bowel movements and things like that. But it's a really, really, really important one. I think that's definitely worth discussing. I'm going to give it another minute or two and just see if we can let a few more people jump in whilst I pour myself some water. But let me know you're there, guys. How you all doing on Instagram? How's everybody doing on Facebook and YouTube? Yeah, I quite like the Top Tip Tuesdays. It's a nice little discussion point, and then at the end, I will share my top tips on how to incorporate something more around that subject. And then, of course, at the end, you're more than welcome to ask any questions. It doesn't have to be about the subject we discussed today. It can just be any nutrition subject, if you like. Hello, good evening, Jake. How you doing? Hope you're well, sir. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. I'll give it one more minute and then I'll get started. So for those who may be new to this, Top Tip Tuesday, I basically share some sort of a tip around a subject that I'd have written a blog around, and then we'll make it a bit more of a discussion / Q&A straight after. This is the 5th consecutive Top Tip Tuesday Q&A, so we're doing great. With that consistency. Good to hear you're doing well, my guy. Good to hear you're doing well. Hopefully I will, by the time you leave here, I would have shared something of value that you can incorporate into your life. So today we're talking about fiber. Fiber. What is fiber? How much should we have? And what are the actual benefits of actually having it? So, I'll make it 33, so I'll jump straight in and get started. This is a really interesting one because I find for a lot of people, this idea of fiber is actually way more important than people actually realize. It's connected to your gut health. Your gut health is actually connected to a lot of things. All your hormones are produced within your gut. If you want to be doing your number 2s, it's all linked. But let's start from the top anyway. Obviously, if you've ever been on a diet, you probably have heard about fiber. But the question is, what is it? How much of it are you actually supposed to have? And that's where people kind of do tend to stumble, because it can be a very complex subject in terms of the scientific stuff behind it. And there's actually, first of all, did you know fiber is actually a carbohydrate? Did you know that? Fiber is a carbohydrate. It is part of the carbohydrate family. It is. Most may know it referred to as roughage. And there's actually 2 types of fiber. See, unlike sugars and starches, which are carbohydrates, fiber is part of that family, but the way it differs is that it is not digested in your small intestine. It's digested in it gets through to your large intestine, and that's where it's linked with bowel movements. You see, didn't know that one, did you? Fiber is a type of carbohydrate. It is part of the carbohydrate family, and it really annoys me, especially the ladies. When I hear people talking about, oh, I'm on a no-carb diet, that is not possible because you'd probably kill over or something. You know, your body's chosen number one source of fuel is actually carbs. Did you know? Carbs. Your body loves carbs. But the real issue comes in terms of the type of carb you're having and the frequency that you're having these carbs in. Okay. But I digress. Let's get back to it. Two types of fiber, soluble and insoluble. So soluble fiber is the one that dissolves in water. I won't get too scientific with this, but that will include things like fruit and oats and things like that. And then insoluble fiber, this one does not actually dissolve in water. This is now where we're talking about whole grains, seeds, and things like that. And symptoms of lack of fiber. A lot of people actually, did you know, actually are not hitting the daily quota when it comes to fiber. And in terms of lack of fiber, the number one symptom usually is going to be constipation. Constipation, a lack of actually going to the toilet usually signifies somebody's having a bit of trouble with the bowel movements. And of course, remember as well, like, you know, our bowel movements, that's a detoxification pathway. A lot of the time, did you know, sometimes when people feel like they're carrying excess weight, actually, sometimes, really, you're just full of shit, like literally full of shit in your gut because it's not moving, it's not clearing out. Some people have been found to have up to at least 5 to 8 pounds of, you know, stool and stuff within their gut that they haven't actually got rid of. And there's you thinking that you're actually really fat, but nah, you just got a lot of shit in your gut, literally. And obviously we need to, you know, make sure, you know, we're supporting our detoxification pathways because more times health ailments and issues are actually linked to heavy toxins within the body that are not being actually expelled. And this could be, in terms of detoxification pathways, we're talking, you know, you're holding a lot of toxins. Now, if they don't come out, they're going to try and find a way to come out. So what I'm talking about here is something as simple as, for example, let's use your house, for example, the pipes and all of that in your house. When the toilet or the kitchen sink blocks up, what happens? Things back up, don't they? Amazing, yeah, that's right. People are full of a lot of, that's right. They are full of, and we need to, obviously that's where you're going to end up having to unclog those pipes because in your house, like I said, if things are blocked up, it's going to then start coming out. And the last thing you want is, you know, old hair and oil and grease and poo and that coming up your drain, like your pipes and that. That's not cool, is it? We don't want that. And our body's working the same way. You see now when people don't detox on a regular basis and then you wonder why you got white tongue, smelly breath and spots coming out and all of that kind of stuff. Listen, it's because you need to detox. You're full of shit, sorry to say. And usually fiber is one of the things that may actually help. That's kind of what it's really there for. And yeah, really dietary fiber. We are literally talking about plant-based sources as well. It's always going to be plant-based source, remember? Okay. And then in terms of benefits, well, we've just talked about one right now, haven't we? In terms of fiber helps our digestive system, preventing constipation. It bulks up the stools, like literally bulks them up, makes it all a bit more smoother, pass a bit more easier, no hemorrhoids or sore bum and all of that kind of stuff that does happen when you have constipation. In terms of clinic, what I've noticed is top 5 actual health problems people tend to present with are usually linked to constipation. And I guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, you will not find a person who's ill and there isn't some sort of related gut issue somewhere along the line. Your gut is going to be involved. And fiber is something that helps to actually keep our gut in a good place. And a lot of studies have actually shown in terms of like colorectal cancer, bowel cancer, and even rectal cancers as well. A lack of fiber was found to be something that actually contributed as well. And what you find is a lot of the time people who are eating a very processed sort of Western style type diet, they tend to not really have a lot of plant-based stuff, like full stop. And then you wonder why there's no fiber in your diet because, you know, there's a show of hands, guys, or type up now. Show me who's had at least 1 portion of fruit a day today. Come on, show me, type. I want to say shout out because I'm so used to doing live classes. Type a little hand or an emoji and show me. Have you had at least 1 piece of fruit today? And have you had at least 1 piece of veg today? I'll be interested to know. Show of emoji hands, please. Good evening, Aunt Mika. Good to see you joining in. I believe that's you anyway. We're talking about fiber today. We're talking about fiber. And African giant, I see you, sir. I see you, sir. We're talking about fiber, guys, for those who've just joined. Fiber. I'm going to be sharing my top tips or top list of foods for you to incorporate into your diet that contain fiber. And I just asked everybody to show some love and tell me how many pieces of fruit have you had today or veg, if any. Okay, we're not going to shame anybody. It'll just be really interesting to hear. But symptoms of a lack of fiber, as I said, number one is always going to be that constipation. And of course, in terms of benefits, now really let's move into the benefits. Why do you want to be having more of this? Aside from constipation, avoiding constipation, helping yourself to detox. Fiber as well has also been shown. A lot of studies. I actually found a really interesting study that talked about the relationship between the gut and the brain, and how actually fiber is really important for the good bacteria in your gut. The good bacteria in your gut. And what I'm talking about here is, anybody ever heard of prebiotics? We all know about probiotics, right? But have you heard of prebiotics? So this effectively is it's the food source for your good bacteria. Remember, your gut is a very delicate, fine balance between good bacteria and bad bacteria, right? And fiber, certain types of fiber actually act as a good food source for good bacteria. This is the prebiotics. Because remember, in terms of your gut, there's that delicate balance between good and bad. Literally, like a lot of the time, people don't even realize you're like a microcosm of the macrocosm. There's a whole lot of bacteria on your skin, on your tongue, all of that stuff. But the issues tend to happen when there's an imbalance between good and bad bacteria. And in an ideal world, you want 60 good and then the rest bad. And then that's because whenever you have stomach issues like diarrhea, things like that, that is usually when the balance in scales has tipped in favor of bad bacteria, basically. That's usually when that tends to happen. And in terms of your gut, why am I talking about your gut and it being good for your gut? Well, good bacteria is linked to so many things in terms of, for example, last week was Mental Health Awareness Week, and I was talking about hormones, endorphins, dopamine, serotonin. Most of those are made within your gut. Okay, now those are not going to be made. The good bacteria contributes to that process, and if you don't have a lot of good bacteria going on there, then you're not going to make any of these good hormones now, are you? And that's where it comes in handy. And also, word to the wise as well, for those, if you've been to the doctor and you've been on antibiotics, I highly recommend you get yourself some probiotics. You can get on the market in terms of supplements, a lot of combinations of pro and prebiotics all together as one. So I'd highly recommend you get those for yourself. And then another one as well that is really good for, probably this one will be of more interest to most people here. Anybody dieting, if you're dieting, satiety usually tends to be the issue, right? People who are on a diet tend to, I'm really hungry, like I'm starving. Yeah, a lot of the time that usually suggests that you're probably not having enough protein or enough fiber. Most people in the sort of PT workout industry are quick to tell you to have more protein in terms of obviously retaining muscle, building muscle, but people don't talk enough about fiber. Fiber is also another hack that will help to keep you fuller for longer. Literally, I'll give you an example of how it works, right? So if I had some porridge oats, it's normal. Here's one I made earlier. Oats. I tend to cook my own, by the way. I don't really do this sachet packet business. So if I got these oats and then I pour them in here, milk or water, and then I've got like a colander, a sieve, and I poured that through the sieve, what would happen? The water would run through. Now, if you were to actually cook that oats, milk or water and porridge, you'd get that thick gloop that we all ate as porridge, right? Now, if you were to put that through the colander, through the sieve, what would happen? Not what happened before, it wouldn't run through. And you've got to think about your stomach emptying the same way as the sieve or colander works. In that sense, fiber literally will expand, it will keep you fuller for longer, and that tells the gut receptors that communicate with the brain that, nah, we're cool, we'll be alright till the next meal. If anybody's got chia seeds at home, if you've got chia seeds at home, I would highly recommend you try this as an experiment, right? Or you can actually make your own diet drink if you like. Chia seeds, if you put them, like a teaspoon of those in a glass of water, for anybody who's got kids, really great experiment. Leave it for about 20 minutes to half hour, and what happens is it starts to look like frog spawn, that little frog eggs. It just like swells up and it's quite like a little jelly-like consistency. And that's how it's keeping you fuller for longer. It's expanding, literally expanding within your gut. So I would highly recommend that. And in terms of how much fiber are we supposed to be getting, I'll tell you now, right? As I said, top 5 issue I see in clinic tends to be in relation to constipation, people's bowels not moving. Now, of course, understandably, sometimes it's medication that can contribute to this. If you're taking a whole cocktail of prescribed tablets, I can guarantee you constipation is going to be one of those things that's a bit of an issue, and they'll usually recommend something else to help you with your bowel movements. But I wouldn't rely on laxatives and things like that too much, because again, you start to lose a lot of goodness, and if it ends up going from one extreme to the other, you end up losing electrolytes, and yeah, it's just a whole bit of a cocktail of a mess, to put it bluntly. So I would always err on the side of caution. Now, how much are we supposed to be having? We are this is interesting. Most people are actually having about 10 to 15 grams of fiber per day. Now, the actual recommendation, in terms of the UK, government recommendation is actually 28 to 30 grams of fiber a day. And people are having less than half of that, which is not a surprise. As I said earlier, I asked everybody, how many pieces of fruit has everybody had today? I'm on 3 so far. And 1 portion of veg. I had some broccoli for lunch as well. I'm definitely looking to get at least another couple of portions in, so I hit at least 6 or 7 for the day. But you want to be getting that fiber in. And 15 grams when you're supposed to be having 30. That's quite staggering, isn't it? And just to give you an example of how much fiber's in stuff, for example, a apple or pear, you're looking at about 2 to 3 grams of fiber in there, just to put it into perspective. So we have to kind of really be eating a lot more fiber. Word to the wise though, please can you make sure that you are, first of all, you do ease yourself into it. Have your fiber slowly, okay? The last thing I want is people blaming me and saying, G told me that I should eat more fiber, and then now you're sitting on the toilet, things are not moving, and then you're blaming me for your lack of bowel movements. No. I'm telling you, have more water as you start to incorporate slowly. Oh, this is good. Somebody had so you had a big salad, 2 bananas and apple. Hey, that's easily, you've hit your 5 a day there. That's impressive. Well done. I like that. And it's really easy, you know, guys, to actually hit your 5 a day. So this 5 a day is actually based on the premise of 2 pieces of fruit and 3 veg, right? Now, if you actually ask yourself, do you actually even hit that? Most people don't. And I'll tell you now, the easiest way to do that, right, would be breakfast, whatever you have a piece of fruit with that. And then your first snack, around 10, 11 o'clock, have a piece of fruit. Now you're on 2. And then lunch, incorporate a little salad or something there. And then your last snack, around 3, 4, have a piece of fruit. You've already hit 3 pieces of fruit. And then for lunch, you incorporated a salad, even if it's just in a sandwich. And then with your dinner, have at least 2 portions of veg there. Bam, you've done 6. It can be done. I challenge you this week. We're going to start doing this. For every Top Tip Tuesday, we're going to do some homework. Do some homework with you guys. I challenge you to actually monitor your fruit and veg intake in terms of helping to up your fiber. And try and do your 5. Let's see if you can actually do 5 minimum. That's the challenge. 5 minimum. And as I was saying, so we're supposed to be hitting that 28 to 30 grams a day. So naturally, that's going to lead into how can we do that? Okay, let's have a look. Got a few people who have jumped on. Yeah, you see, drugs do that. They do, definitely. Yeah, see, a lot of people do coffee, so we've got a comment on Instagram talking about reasons why that may happen, and it's usually, as I said, in relation to medication. And I found, actually, that's really interesting you share. Thank you for sharing that. Some people do actually say to help the bowels move and open up, they can either smoking, actually, some people smoke a cigarette, did you know, first thing in the morning, just to help things flow. But coffee, I'm going to come back to this one day, actually. I found a study that talks about, especially with you ladies, coffee first thing in the morning, not your friend. Not your friend. Coffee actually has a very drying sort of effect, did you know? And on that note, on coffee, I hope you have your last coffee at 2 p.m. because anything after that, hey, you will not be sleeping well. Okay, but thank you for sharing. I mean, yes, coffee does help, but it's not helping in the right way. I'm gonna tell you that now. It's not actually helping in the right way. That's more like a nervous system reaction, like an excitement kind of thing, if you like. It has to be coming more from food and water as well. Actually, that's probably one of the most underrated ones when it comes to helping things move much more smoothly. I would say up your water game. Yeah, I'm guessing you're addicted to the coffee, yeah? And more comments in there. I would say with that, most of the time, it's usually the taste that you want rather than the actual sort of caffeine. Did you know you apparently get more energy from a piece of apple than you would do a cup of coffee? Interesting fact, that, right? Yeah, so a lot of the time I think you have to identify why you actually like that thing. You're not addicted, you just really like it. It's a routine and it's a pattern. It's a learned behavior, effectively. Chicory, you can get actual coffee substitutes. I know the decaf business doesn't really help, but I would say maybe I would recommend something like a chicory root as a substitute for your coffee. You'd be surprised, it tastes really nice, light coffee. Give you the same buzz. But how can you up your fiber then? That's really what you want to know, right? First and foremost, it's all about going wholemeal and seeded for those who like bread. And I know typically people like white bread, all right? Put that in the bin. Listen, unless it's toasted, I'm not touching that. White bread is like glue. It's literally like it will just get processed very quickly. That is usually responsible for people's erratic energy levels because literally it's like a processed sugar. It will spike your energy up and then it will dump you right down. And then guess what you're going to want to do at around 10, 11 in the morning for those people who get the mid-morning dips. That's where you want to pick me up, isn't it? And most times people will then resort to, you know, if you work in the office, Susan comes around with the cups of teas and a little biscuit for you. Say no to Susan. Thank you for your biscuits, but I got an apple. Because that will give me the same amount of energy, but with vitamins and minerals. Don't peel your apples, by the way, people. Don't peel your apples. Don't peel your pears. The skin, that is actually 50% of the fiber is found in the skin. So things like potatoes, carrots, like why are you peeling them? You washed the carrot, didn't you? So what are you going to peel it for? You're losing all of that goodness. Because again, remember, with all of these fruits and veg, in terms, listen, even kiwis, I didn't know this is not a thing, but in my family, my house, me and my kids, we eat the skin on the kiwi. And we do. We wash it up and then it's cool. You can still eat it, right? It's like, oh, it's all a bit furry and stuff. I washed it. It's cool. Yeah, mangoes as well. Definitely got to be eating that skin. I know growing up, used to have raw mangoes, but with salt. Yeah, that's a bit naughty, that one, actually, in hindsight, when I think about it now. But mangoes, again, mango skin, that's the one. Again, I taught my children, don't be peeling that stuff off, man. Have that goodness. That is all part of the goodness. But there's, I think it was quite a trend a couple of years ago where, like, it was like a rustic eating thing where people were eating, listen, I even sometimes, you know, on the strawberries, sometimes I'll even eat the little green bit. Why not? Right? Who dictates that we should throw this away and eat that? I mean, when I met my wife, right, I never used to eat jacket potato skins. First of all, I don't really like potatoes. She loves a potato. I call her spud sometimes. But jacket potato skins as well. That's where all the fiber's at. Little trick here. Make sure you just roast them in the oven, the jacket potatoes, and get that skin like super crispy. Then it's actually more tolerable, actually. But you've got to be eating the skin on everything, is what I recommend in terms of actually upping your fiber. And then in terms of, like I said, breads, like white bread, please, let's put that in the bin. Stop that. No good for you. Pastas as well. You want to be going more for the brown stuff. Same with the rice as well, actually. A trick to try and incorporate for those who may not like that, because I know especially with pasta, unless you like it al dente, most people don't agree with that. I would always recommend you do like a 50-50. So get like 50%, so put like a handful of white pasta, a handful of brown pasta, mix it up, and then slowly, you know, once it's swimming in sauce and all of that goodness, you won't even notice the difference, will you, to be fair? So I would say do that. Same can actually count with rice as well. So we talked about potatoes, eating the skin, the wedges, new potatoes, all of that. Have the skin. That's where all the goodness is. And you think about it as well, when it comes to the skin on fruit and veg, right? That is what actually protects the veg, right? If a little, I don't know, a little worm or something is trying to bore through the apple, usually the skin is just is a protective barrier, not just a physical barrier, but there's chemicals on there. Not chemicals, so agents that will stop it from pretty much going through. well, those health benefits will be conferred to you as well. This is where another one as well, in terms of anti-aging, right? If you want to live, good skin and live longer and all of that stuff, you want to be having more berries. The darker the berry, the better as well, because again, those antioxidants, those anthocyanins, those phytonutrients, that's what they're called. They are contained on the skin and stuff. That's what, if it protects the plant, it'll protect you as well, right? You will get those exact same benefits as well. Snacking, easy way, like I said, in terms of snacking, make sure you're having more veg, oat cakes, things like that. Seeds, nuts, you can never, ever go wrong. Frozen veg is cool, by the way, whilst we're on that subject. Nothing is wrong with frozen veg whatsoever. And also try to incorporate more pulses, more seeds, more grains, chickpeas, things like that. That will make a very, very big difference to helping you up your fiber intake. And for those who were with us earlier, we classified the two types of fiber, right? Soluble and insoluble. So to categorize it, give you my top 8 foods, if you like. Oats, barley, and rye, number 1, in terms of helping with the soluble fibers. And then fruits, we talked about apples, bananas, things like that. That would be a great one to also add in terms of upping your fiber. And then root veg. Root veg is definitely the way forward when it comes to increasing your fiber. So carrots, potatoes, parsnips, all of that stuff. Incorporate more of those. And also what you find is sometimes with these, when you roast them just right, they come with a certain kind of sweetness that it releases. Because remember, carbs is the same family. Fiber, starches, sugar, it's all the same family of carbs. And they tend to be sweet as well, don't they? Linseeds is also another one that I'll try and incorporate into the diet. And then in terms of actual insoluble, as we said, going wholemeal on anything and everything. Bran, so we're talking about bran flakes, things like that. In terms of upping your fiber as well, top 3 breakfasts I would recommend would be Weetabix. Then I would also recommend porridge oats. Here's one I made earlier. Porridge oats and shreddies as well. Now, muesli, granola, all of that, you want to be careful of those because they tend to be quite sweet because they'll have, be it added honey or added dry fruit. But porridge, Weetabix, porridge, Weetabix, and shredded wheat. You can't go wrong with those for breakfast. That's usually my go-to breakfast. Porridge, and I'll throw in a bit of banana in there, a few seeds and stuff. And that's accompanied by 2 boiled eggs on the side. Boom, I'm ready to go. That's balanced me as well. So in terms of my macros are now balanced, aren't they? I've got my protein in there, I've got my carbs going on in there, and I've got my fruit as well. So remember as well, fruit is part of the carb family. Fruits, carbs, like they are. Vegetables are carbs. Certain weight loss clubs that shall not be named tend to demonize things like fruit, telling people about how you can't be eating fruit, it's a sin and all of that. Well, I give you permission today. Have as much fruit as you like, okay? Because the fruit, it's not just the sugars that are in the fruit. There's the fiber. It's like I could down a carton of orange juice in 30 seconds. Easily. Done that before. But I could not eat 10 oranges in the same amount of time. That's what we're talking about here in terms of comparison. Because with the orange, there's all that skin, the fiber, etc. That couples with the sugar, and that's what allows the sugar to be released slowly rather than things like your white bread or your juice, etc. Your blood sugar just spikes up. This is why people end up with type 2 diabetes, because your insulin's like, do you know what? You got this, right? You clearly don't need us because you just keep yo-yoing up and down with your energy levels. That is literally what happens with type 2 diabetes for most people. So I would say, try and incorporate more fiber. Cereals, fruits, easiest way, and then veg thereafter. And nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds are a really great one. I like to make my own trail mix. Get 3 or 4 different types of bags of seeds, be it linseeds, pumpkin seeds, anything like that. Mix it up with some, the dried grapes. The raisins, that's the one, the raisins. Mix it up and then you've got a nice balanced fiber intake breakfast there. But just remember, guys, 30 grams a day we're supposed to be having, and people are barely having 10 to 15. Not cool. And also, If anybody out there is only going for number 2, like once every few days, I'm gonna tell you now, you need to up your fiber. That is not normal. That shit's not normal. No, we need to be going, once, twice a day. We do. That's healthy bowel movements. Because remember as well, like your stool. I used to work in the hospital and we had stool charts, and that can really tell you what's going on with yourself. And I just recommend everybody does that as well. I know we'll check our pee, then we know that we're dehydrated after a night out. It's looking like, it's some sort of uranium pee or something, some bright yellow luminous type of pee. You know something ain't right there in relation to your hydration levels. Well, sometimes you gotta look at a boo-boo as well just to see what's really going on, guys. Okay? You gotta look at it. Sorry. It's one of those, it's a dirty subject nobody wants to talk about. But actually, it's so connected and tells you about your health. It's worth investigating and talking about. So, we're coming up to time now. So just to reiterate, today was Top Tip Tuesday, and I was sharing my tips with you guys around how to actually incorporate more fiber and why you should have more fiber in your diet. We talked about the 2 types of fiber, that being the soluble and insoluble fiber. We talked about symptoms of a lack of fiber, that being things like constipation. And then we talked about the benefits of fiber, primarily that being helps with actual digestive movements and also helping to potentially prevent colorectal cancer, rectal cancer. And then main number reason 2 as well, in terms of benefits, was in relation to gut health. Fiber actually looks after the good bacteria in your gut. This is the prebiotics. In opposition to probiotics, which everybody knows about. Well, guess what? That good bacteria needs food as well. It needs a food source, and that is what some fibers will actually do. We talked about the government recommendation, that being 30 grams, and people are not even hitting that, barely. And then we went into actually sharing tips on how to incorporate it with a very big warning. Make sure you're drinking some water when you up that fiber, because I don't want you telling me about, I can't move now because G told me I need more fiber. You need to be drinking more water as well. And then, of course, we shared a list of top 8 foods to incorporate into your diet, which I will put in the caption. I'll also put a blog post to accompany this, which comes in a bit more detail for you guys, or those who have some reading time. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Top Tip Tuesday. My name is Genesis. Thank you for joining me. But before I go, does anybody have any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions at all? It doesn't have to be about fiber, by the way. It's just we pick a topic, and that's a great starting point for us in terms of our discussion. So you gotta get hydrated. Well, so let me just check for a comment real quick on here and see if anybody said anything. If not, well, I'm trying to be really good with sticking to time, and I'll make it half hour. Thank you very much for joining me. Like I said, look out for a couple of posts after this. And if you like the format of this, it's quick, it's short, it's snappy. I know everybody's coming from work and things like that, so I try and make sure it's just a quick half hour, just to share a couple of bits. Jonathan, thank you for joining. Yes, wealth is health. That's really what it is. Rather than healthy wealth is health. Oh, okay. So quick question there. Health of the mouth. It really depends on what we're talking about here. Is it outside? Is it on the lips? Is it ulcers? Because usually with is it ulcers or is it cold sores? Cold sores usually, usually induced by stress, and it's usually a deficiency of lysine, protein called lysine, amino acid called lysine. You can actually get like a lysine cream to add to it. That really helps. And obviously in terms of dietary wise, you want to be up in foods that contain lysine, like eggs and things like that. And in terms of the mouth internally ulcers, the beauty is if it's outside, it's one of, because of the thin sort of layer of the skin, it heals so quickly, so easily, which is a blessing. I mean, about 4 weeks ago, boy, must have been super stressed because I had 3 bad boys just pop up. And actually a tip is as well, if it's in relation to cold sores, as soon as you feel that little itch, that little sting, you want to get some ice. Ice the hell out of it. Literally just hold that ice up like somebody done punched you up or something. Like that does help to actually stop it. Is what I found. But again, it depends. If it's more sort of internal, then salt water rinse. That's so underrated, but it makes a difference. And I'm talking about salt rinsing 2 to 3 times a day, more if you can. That also can make a very, 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 very big difference. Is what I'll say. But feel free to slide into my DMs for a bit more detail, and I'll be more than happy to help you. But generically speaking, I would say salt water rinse if we're talking sort of internal. External, obviously I talked about cold sores, and if it's already, then get some, what's it called? It's not Veruca, you know, the stuff that, yeah, sometimes you're better off just doing that, is what I would say. But I hope that's of help initially without getting into too much detail. It is my pleasure. I'm more than happy to help. This is what it's all about, right? Top Tip Tuesday. We answer questions and we learn together as well, which is always a pleasure. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for joining me. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure. I will catch you on the next Top Tip Tuesday. Other than that, hope you all have a good evening. Take care, guys. I'll see you all soon. Bye.